DBT Interpersonal Effectiveness 4. In this session, we're going to cover building relationships and mindfulness of others. Finding people and getting them to like you is the first step to decreasing isolation and loneliness. It's also important whenever you move to a new location, start a new job, or join a new group. For some people, making friends seems easy and effortless. For others, it can take a lot of work and a long time. Some people have lots of friends, others have just one or two close friends. Some have loads of acquaintances, but few good friends. Others have a few good friends, but minimal acquaintances. What types of friends do you have, or would you like to have? Firstly, we're going to have a think about why we might make friends. Friends are essential for happiness. Many people believe that needing friends means being emotionally dependent and that we should be able to be happy alone. This is complete rubbish. It may be true for some, but humans are social beings, and therefore relationships are essential for our well-being. All people are lovable by someone. Even those who have committed crime, someone will correspond with them and fall in love with them. Some people might believe they're unlovable because of the experiences they've had. But everyone is lovable by someone. It's important to remember that proximity favours friendship. So firstly, we must find opportunities to make casual but regular contact with people in our everyday environment. If you work in a shared office, you could turn your desk to face others, or go and make a coffee when others are in the kitchen. Going to groups or talking to classmates if you're at college or university, or talking to work colleagues are all different ways that we can build relationships. If we avoid doing these things because of social anxiety, we often make the problem worse. So building relationships requires a lot of effort, but just remember that avoiding the social contact increases isolation, so you must make the effort. A second step to making friends is to mix with people whose attitudes are similar to yours. For example, with regards to politics, lifestyle, or morals. Sometimes opposites attract, but not often. Research has shown that we tend to like people who are similar to ourselves, even from childhood. For example, children aged 3 chose puppets who like the same food and toys as them. Conversation skills are really important. Good conversationalists ask plenty of questions, give positive feedback, so indicate they've heard, understood and appreciated what the other person has said, and talk for approximately half the time. Not all the time, so the other person can't get a word in, or that they have to keep the conversation going. Don't underestimate the importance of small talk. Conversations don't have to be deeply meaningful to be enjoyable. Small talk is really valuable. Students who were asked to make friends without small talk in a study found it impossible because they didn't know where to start. Small talk can be done in a restaurant or in a shop. It doesn't have to only be with friends. It's important that we self-disclose skillfully. Appropriate self-disclosure about yourself requires sensitivity and judgment in order to not divulge too much or too little. This constantly changes with the level of friendship. Try not to interrupt people's conversations. Interrupting doesn't always mean breaking into each other's sentences, but starting to talk just fractionally before or instantly after risks giving the person the impression that you're not really listening to them, only waiting for them to be quiet so that you can have your say. Sometimes a problem in conversation is not knowing what to talk about. This can be learnt by observation, but sometimes it's because you have limited things to talk about because you don't do many activities, for example. We must express liking selectively. It's a lot easier to like someone who likes us than someone who doesn't. We can express liking in many ways. We can tell them, praise or compliment them, seek their company, listen to them, support them, or we can support their causes or people they care about. However, it's important we don't remark on obvious or non-existent characteristics. For example, don't comment on how good an immigrant's English is when they've been living in the UK for 20 years. Don't compliment someone on skills they don't have either. Don't praise everyone for similar characteristics. So don't go overboard with praise for everyone, as then it questions a person's sincerity and makes them wonder if they have an ulterior motive. Sometimes in relationships we might have to make the first move. If we always wait for others to approach us, we may never have any friends. So find other people to be around. If you're invited to a party but know none of the other guests, it's likely the host will introduce you to others, but sometimes they won't, and so you'll need to introduce yourself. In order to do this, you'll need to know whether the group is open or closed, and if open, how to join the conversation. Groups are considered open if everyone is standing somewhat apart, members occasionally glance around the room, there might be gaps in conversation, and members will be more than likely talking about general topics. Groups are considered to be closed if everyone is standing close together, members are talking exclusively to one another, there's perhaps some animated conversation with very few gaps, and members seem to be pairing off. It might be an idea to join organised groups, so groups that meet regularly in order to make friends. The more frequent the contact, the more likely you are to make friends with someone in the group. Find a group with similar people to you. In this case, bigger groups give you a better chance of finding someone similar, not just in age or gender. Maybe find a group with cooperative aims, like volunteering or contributing to something. It's better to find a group emphasising mutual help or having a good time, rather than a competitive group. We're now going to move on to mindfulness of others. Friendships last longer when we remember to be mindful of others. This skill uses give as well as what and how skills of mindfulness. So firstly, we'll look at observing and attending to other people. This involves paying attention with interest and curiosity. When we do this, we're open to getting to know someone new and learning new information about others, which is important because people are constantly changing. Actually pay attention to every word someone says, rather than just imagining you've had the conversation 100 times before. We need to be open to new information about others. Don't refuse to change your mind about someone. So don't hold someone to what they said 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years ago. People are entitled to change their beliefs or what they want. When we're willful in this way, it can rupture relationships. Turn your mind. Try to let go of over-focusing on yourself. You miss what people are telling you this way. It's hard to be validating or empathic towards someone if you're focused upon yourself. You'll end up talking about yourself, which makes other people feel like they're not important. It also might make you anxious about what others are thinking about you. Remember to stay in the present. We need to listen to people in real time instead of planning what we'll say next or think about future consequences of what they're saying. Stop multitasking. So don't text others, answer your phone, or start other conversations. Don't look over their shoulders for someone else to talk to. Give up your judgments and always thinking you need to be right. Judgmental thinking is off-putting and often comes from thinking you're right and others are wrong. Next, we need to use our describing skill. Describe what you observe in a matter-of-fact way. Describe the who, what, and where. We might be describing feelings, thoughts, or sensations of our own or of others. When describing, put aside your judgmental thoughts and statements. They get in the way. Rather than just noticing what someone's doing or saying, we add an evaluation of good or bad onto what we observe. We assume that we're right, and then the whole world should also agree and behave in this way. Keeping friends means to put this aside and describe instead of judge. Try not to make assumptions about others. Don't assume what others are thinking or how they're feeling, what they should be doing or what they want or don't want. Check the facts. Keep your thoughts as hypotheses, and if appropriate, ask the person. You can only describe what you experience with the senses. You can't observe others' feelings, emotions, or intentions. People may infer what another is thinking using validation skills, but we must remain open to being wrong and checking the facts. It's also important not to assume that just because someone makes you feel a certain way, that they intentionally meant to do so. For example, if someone makes you feel manipulated, that they meant to manipulate you and make you feel angry. A very effective skill is giving others the benefit of the doubt. Even when there's justification for thinking the other person has negative intentions, usually there is at least some chance that they don't. This helps you feel better about the relationship and gives you a chance to check the facts. Have you ever assumed someone had a negative intention but turned out to be wrong? Allow others to earn your trust. Trust is built when we take risks to choose to give others opportunities to prove their trustworthiness. When they respond by being untrustworthy, such as by taking advantage, it would be wise to stop trusting them. Too little and too much trust can be problems. Too little leads to paranoia, but too much leads to naivety and getting hurt. Mindfulness doesn't ignore negative information about people, but describing the facts helps you to find a balance of trust for others. Our skill of participating also comes into mindfulness of others. Participating with others would be completely throwing yourself into a conversation or relationship. So throwing yourself into the interactions by being present in a conversation. Be effective by going with the flow. Don't try and control every part of the conversation, decision, or activity, but also don't give up complete control, such as during abusive relationships or when groups try to make you do things you don't want. Having some control is good. Become one with group activities and conversations. Resist the urge to hold back or focus on yourself.